Good morning, guys. How are you today? I'm having some fun with these, like, drive to work or drive to wherever. It's almost like I kind of want to create a little bit of a series called like driving with Ken or on the way to work with Ken. I don't know. I'm gonna figure something out, but I truly enjoy making content and allowing. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to express my opinions and views. If you don't agree with them, that's what makes our country so amazing. We can have differences of opinions, and I respect your opinion just as much as I respect mine. Unless you're a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, then we'll have to sit and have a chat and figure out what's going on in your brain. But besides that, and even that, you're okay to have your opinion. Wanted to touch base today about something I was talking with somebody with last night, and that's regards to sort of where are we going with all of this? And before you're like, oh, okay, that's enough. I've kind of heard all this. I want to talk about it briefly because the Ford government specifically has come out and laid out a set of plans as to what the deal is, what we're going to try and achieve. But there's no dates and there's no real hard criteria. Like if we get down to a certain number of cases, then this happens. They just said they wanted to see a decline in cases. But the problem with that, the issue I kind of have with that is I think cases are going to continually go up because they're doing more testing. And when you do more testing, you're going to find more cases. It's just, it's just natural, I guess, obvious, right? So if we've been doing very little testing and we're getting some cases, then we start to do a ton of testing, we're getting a bunch more cases. There was a lot of cases to begin with. This just didn't happen overnight. So I think for me, I want to, I'm a little bit confused in terms of like what's the plan? And quite honestly, like I've been on different job sites for the last 3 weeks now, and I'm gonna tell you something. Like, it's not busy on the roads, but it's busy. There's cars. It's not like it's rush hour when it was before, but there is a lot of people out. And I think as this warmer weather progresses, it's gonna just get busier and busier. So I think what has to happen, in my opinion, is I think we need to have a bit of a mandate from the government that says if we're going to go into public places, this needs to happen. We need to achieve these objectives. Because if we don't, people are just going to go out free willy, do whatever they want, which is fine. I'm fine with one way or the other, but let's pick one way. Are we allowed to just go out and do what we want? The government's saying no, right? The government's saying no, you can't do that. But then there's no restriction on what we can do. The only restriction they really put in place is they've closed the parks, they've closed like the public arenas, and they've closed down, you're not allowed to open up a retail store unless you're essential. But going into those retail stores is not an issue. It's like, so what are we doing here? So anyway, so my whole point with this is I think we need to really start to get a focus on what what is happening here. Are we going to open May 15th? Are we going to open June 30th? I understand they want to have certain targets, but let's talk about those targets. If we're seeing an average of 1,000 cases a day, I'm making numbers up, and they want to see cases get down to 200 a day, great. So let's give the people objectives, right? So in business, if I want to try and do something that is, if let's say I'm trying to set a timetable out, and the timetable is I need to have this job done in 6 weeks. Well, I sit down at the very beginning, long before the job starts, and plan the process, right? And once I have the process in place, I need to work with my employees, with my trades, and with the suppliers to make sure that I have certain targets and objectives that can be hit on certain dates. And then from there, it's basically a plan from the very end, and we work backwards. I don't want to say this virus is no different, because it's a virus, and there's one person kind of in control of my plan, and then I'm making sure that the people I delegate specific tasks to, they're capable and qualified to do those tasks. But with this virus, we need to have a plan that we can work backwards from. So, in my opinion, Ford needs to come out and say, okay, we want to open up June 1st. In order to open up June 1st, this is what has to happen. And then work their way backwards. We need to see a reduction in cases down to a certain number. We need to see hospitals that are overwhelmed, reductions down in people being admitted to the hospital, or ICU beds being used, or, we need to see reductions in order to. Because if that's the case, if we have an end goal, I really truly feel that people will stay inside and also will abide by whatever policies the government decides to put in place. That being said, I still think it's mandatory, it should be mandatory to wear a mask in a public place. Not to protect yourself, but if people have the virus, because they're not doing temperature tests, they're not really doing anything other than nothing. Walked into Costco, there was no pre-qualification to walk in. They didn't ask if I was traveling, they didn't ask if I'd been sick, they didn't ask if I was self-isolating, nothing. There was zero issues walking into Costco. So if we all have to wear a mask walking into Costco and then take it off when we're leaving, I think that's just as important, because if we are contaminating, or if it does get contaminated, it stays at the store in a garbage. I think with the proper protocols in place, we can probably hit achievable targets a lot quicker than if it's just, let's just see what happens. What? No, we can't just see what happens. This is what I have to commend CBC, which I very rarely do, because I feel that their reporting is extremely biased. And I can't remember the journalist's name because I don't watch CBC. But they were interviewing Tam, and I have a hard time calling her doctor. Dr. Tam, not because I want to put her down in her profession, I just feel every decision she's made has been the opposite, and then they flip-flop on every decision. So, do we wear masks or do we not wear masks? Do we wear masks? Yes, we do. No, we don't. Do we need to wear them? No, we don't. Yes, we do. Now we don't. Yeah, we should probably wear masks. This has been Dr. Tam's medical advice. And the virus doesn't... They know about droplets and coughing and sneezing, and those droplets, because we have had so many other human-to-human transmission virus cases, right? This isn't the first one. So they knew about this stuff. They knew about it. But they also got rid of most of the PPE that they either destroyed because it was out of date, which we could have still used, or they sent it off to other countries, which we needed at home. So I think they were on the fence about it because they knew they didn't have the right product, the right masks to properly equip people. It's a whole nother story. And all that's going to come out. I'm not letting up on that. I think people, especially when you hold the lives of people in your decisions, you need to be held accountable for those lives. You need to be held accountable. If I'm making decisions that are affecting the life and death of someone, and I flip-flop on all those decisions and a lot of people die, should I be held responsible? 1,000%. 1,000%. So the CBC interview, she was talking about hindsight and it's so easy to look back, and they knew about it in December. They decided to wait and see how things went. They let in over 50,000 people, specifically from China, hundreds of thousands of people from all over Europe, after they knew it had been human-to-human transmissible and that it had spread. They knew about this and they let it in. It's not the whole point of my video today, and I don't want to get into that today, but it was a very interesting interview. And for me, not eye-opening, but eye-opening that she actually went on CBC and admitted this. This is like someone committing a crime, knowing they're probably not going to get in trouble for that crime, and then they go on and admit that crime like they know they're not going to get in trouble. It's hilarious. Anyways, I think that we need to have specific protocols in place, and I think that If they do that, if they have specific protocols in place and then they set that timeline, people are going to be like, okay, 1 more month, 3 more weeks, let's all just hunker down and get this done, right? Let's all just hunker down and make sure that, we all contribute so that we can all get back to some sort of way of life. So that's my talk on that. I dropped something on yesterday about restaurants. If you haven't seen it, search my my news feed, talking about, would you go to a restaurant if you had to have a piece of plexiglass separating you from the person you're with or the family members you're with or whoever? Would you go to that restaurant? And they were actually showing people sitting with masks drinking wine, which I just for the life of me can't understand. First of all, the incompetence of the journalist to even post this, unless it was supposed to be satire, but it wasn't. Because who in their right mind is going to sit in a restaurant with a mask drinking wine? Number one. Number two, let's put up a sheet of plexiglass. We're now going to just go to visual, right? We can't communicate because we got to yell around the plexiglass. We're wearing masks so our voices are muffled. And apparently these are what restaurateurs want to have happen in their restaurants. And I'm like, how does it even, would you want to go to a restaurant where you're basically walking into like a hospital, like hazmat environment? Like, what kind of atmosphere is that? To sit there and have to, why would you want to pay for that experience? That's what I don't understand. The restaurant business is screwed. The restaurant business is screwed really bad because of the we want to, when you go out to an event, you go out to a restaurant, you go out, concerts, screwed. When you want to go out to these events, you want to be around people. That's the whole point. You're in an atmosphere where everybody's enjoying each other, you're having conversation. There's a chance for you to catch up with friends, with family. Maybe it's a date, you're taking your wife or husband out, whatever it is. You're going because of that experience. You're paying, one, for good food, but also, if it's an Italian restaurant, you're paying for that kind of experience. Or if it's a Chinese restaurant, or if it's a pick an environment, you're paying for that environment too. It's not just the food. So with that environment kind of gone, why are you going out? Like, why would you waste $100, as an example, maybe $200 on a meal when you're like, basically, it's like you're going and meeting a friend and they're in jail and you're gonna go talk to them on the phone. Like, do we need to have like a phone we can pick up and actually talk to the other person or on the other side? It's ridiculous. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny. So and sad, because it's really, that article right there, that article is, I think it's a forecast of what's to come, because the way we do everything in this world is going to change. Everything is going to change, whether it's short term or long term, whether it's it's something that we accept as a society or we don't. It's changing. The world is changing, people, right in front of us. Listen, that's it. I've rambled on for 13 minutes. Thank you for spending some time with me this morning. And if you have any comments, you have any questions, any feedback, you know me, I love to hear it all. So I think the camera moved while I was recording this, because now I can't barely see my face. But have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you soon.